Hello and welcome to round 5 of the Magic Online Championship. I'm Brian David Marshall. I'm here with Randy Bueller. We have Louis Scott Vargas hanging out in the red zone, and we are about to watch reigning Magic Online champion, there you see him, Dmitriy Butakov, play against Cory. Both of these players are sitting at 2-2 and really looking to avoid that third loss.
Yeah, it's a big round. Top half of the field or bottom half of the field? Where are you going to be with 2 rounds to go?
Yeah, and Dmitriy Butakov, of course, playing Jund. And Cory playing the same colors, but a radically different deck.
Yeah,
Other than mana, very few cards overlap here.
Well, I called it Jund Graveyard, and it does have the core of Confidant, Tarmogoyf, and Liliana. But yeah, Cory is really a Life from the Loam Seismic Assault deck, is kind of the way to think about it. Raven's Crime is also happy to be in the graveyard. So is the Flame Jab. Aggro Loam, I think is the name I've heard. You have to close the other version of the deck first. You can't have 2 versions of the game open. No. Alt-Tab is your friend.
And here we go. Oh, we're already underway. There's a Flame Jab in the yard. There's a Dark Confidant in play. And there you go. There we get a look at Cory hand. We see the Life from the Loam. We see a bunch of lands. We see a Faithless Looting. Ghost Quarter for a little Life from the Loam action. Faithless Looting picks up 2 more lands. We're going to see I am sure, a Life from the Loam and another land go away.
It's neat how the Life from the Loam engine turns Faithless Looting into card advantage.
No, he's actually going to hold on to the Life from the Loam. I guess get it started with a hard cast, with the first casting.
What did Thoughtseize get? Flame Jab?
It looks like Thoughtseize got Flame Jab. There you get a look at the hand for Dmitriy Butakov, playing, got a Slaughter Pact, he's got a Maelstrom Pulse.
Dmitry draws Liliana. I know it can be weird to have the cards at the bottom be the guy at the top. Basically, we're showing you whoever's the hand for whoever's turn it is. So the hand is kind of flipping back and forth.
Yeah, Liliana just forces the sacrifice of Dark Confidant.
That is a lot of land in Cory hand.
How many lands does he play in the stack?
27? I got 27 in my count.
So he's got all of them now. He's drawn them all. So Flame Jab just going
to use the retraceability to take out Liliana.
Yeah. And then I think maybe we're going to see a flashed back Faithless Looting. Or is he casting?
Oh, there's a Raven's Crime in there.
Oh, so he's just starting
all
to
retrace all the time.
Starting to dismantle Butakov's hand. I was like, wait, that's not fair. That's what I'm supposed to do. So now use the dredge ability on Life from the Loam. No? Oh, he has one. Did he have one in hand already?
He never cast the first one. He never discarded it. Yeah, it just keeps discarding lands to Raven's Crime. So Butakov is down to, what, one card at this
No,
point?
he's
now
empty.
he's out. Yeah, there's both his cards. And, oh, how do you feel about a 5/6 Tarmogoyf? Wow, this Loam deck looks awesome here.
That's actually how big the card appears.
Yes, just leave it that big. That's what's going on. I mean, the Life from the Loams, the namesake card for the deck, hasn't actually done a whole lot here.
Yeah, no, he
But it hasn't
he
needed
had
to.
Yeah,
And it can do plenty. I mean, if Dmitry ever holds a card in hand, he can always obviously just go get more lands in order to fuel more activations of the Raven's Crime.
you see a Ghost Quarter.
And it's time to flashback Faithless Looting, yeah. I mean, Life from the Loam gives him the lands, which he can discard if he draws spells off the Faithless Looting. Pretty nice little engine here.
And there's the Seismic Assault. Oh, and another Liliana. Or his own
first.
Liliana. His first, yeah, exactly.
It's not super relevant here, though.
Yeah, he's like, I don't need that. I do not need Planeswalkers.
Yeah, and suddenly with Seismic Assault in hand, he was less interested in discarding lands. Can't imagine why that would be. I mean, Tarmogoyf all by itself is a 2-turn clock. Seismic Assault is threatening 4 damage. Plus, he can dredge Life from the Loam and Life from the Loam for 6 more damage. So game's over next turn, right? Except that Liliana's going to kill Tarmogoyf.
That's okay.
I mean, that Flame Jab is doing real work here, right? Is Flame Jab actually good now?
Well, it is very good in this deck. There's Seismic Assault, and now
It's more efficient.
Yeah,
Yeah, Seismic Assault with Life from the Loam more. Oh, he can actually just deal full 10. Ball game. Crazy. Cory Lack with Aggro Loam.
yeah.
Who knew?
Yeah, no, I mean, Bronson Magna knew in Nebraska, so just people forgot.
That was like 47 years ago.
Yeah.
There's been like 2
It was-
rounds
it was-
of bannings and a Pro Tour
it-
since
it
then
wa-
with not a drop of
It was
Aggro
actually in
Loam.
a galaxy far, far away.
Thank you. Well done.
So what's the sideboard plan here for Dmitry Butakov? What is he
Wow.
going to do
Does he
about?
have anti-graveyard?
We
Yeah,
can
let's
actually
watch
take a
them
look and
sideboard.
see how
Absolutely.
he's sideboarding.
Yeah, Anger the Gods. This is not the matchup for Anger the Gods. Terminate, still sort of relevant. He's got the Fulminator Mages hanging out there. Rakdos Charm has come in, I believe. That's got
Okay.
a mode that kills Graveyard, right?
That seems pretty good.
Yeah, is he taking his Thought Seizes out?
Yeah, it looks like Thought Seizes came out. Did he have how many slaughter packs? Total?
Oh, Thrun the Last Troll came in. Chandra came in. There were 2 slaughter packs on the board. Looks like they may have come in.
And now we take a look at what Cory's doing.
Yeah, he feels like he's got a deck that is, in large part, designed to already be good in this matchup.
It looks like he took out his. It looks like he took out his Faithless Lootings.
That's interesting.
Okay, so we're ready to go back down for game 2 here, which is underway. Dmitry Butakov leading off with Verdant Catacombs. There you go. Verdant Catacombs into Blood Crypt. Go down to 17, the starting life total for the modern format. And leads off again with Inquisition of Kozilek.
Which we haven't gotten a look at Cory's hand yet, so I don't know what the choices are.
There's
There
a
we go.
Seismic Assault, there's an Abrupt Decay, there's a Raven's Crime, there's a Dark Confidant.
You
So it's
take-
really Dark Confidant or
Or
Seismic Assault
Yeah, I
here.
think you take Bob.
He took the
He took
Abrupt
Abrupt
Decay.
Decay.
So Marsh Flats comes down for Cory.
Do you just Raven's Crime here?
Yeah, I mean, just early and often.
I don't know.
And see, as you can see, 17.
Yeah, starts at 17.
Right, and I mean that's gonna put Dmitry down to 3 cards.
Yeah, I think that
Down to 4 cards.
Dmitry took the Abrupt Decay because he's really relying on his own Dark Confidant.
Another Inquisition of Kozilek.
Interesting. Okay, so Dmitry goes Inquisition and Raging Ravine. Doesn't get the Bob into play yet, but that's the one he's also good. He knows there's a Seismic Assault there that can potentially kill it as well. Although there's no 3rd red mana, right?
No.
Or is that a Grave Cairns?
That's a Grave,
Can get the 3rd red mana off the swamp. Okay,
Yeah.
check. There's 3 red mana.
And he just Raven's Crimes twice there. Or once.
How much of Dimitri's hand is left at this point? He's going to be down to 1 card, and it's presumably going to be a Dark Confidant. He discarded the Forest to the first Raven's Crime. Now he's got to lose either Dark Confidant or Inquisition. If he loses the Dark Confidant, he knows his opponent has kept a Seismic Assault. I'm actually a little bit surprised that Cory discarded the Swamp to activate this Raven's Crime rather than the Forest.
Right.
Since the Forest does not give him the triple red for
the-
Seismic Assault,
right.
but the Swamp would have.
Right, because he can filter the swamp through the Graven Cairns, get red,
Yeah.
and then tap the Blood Crypt for the 3rd red.
Yeah,
But
so
I guess he wants to keep that forest because if he draws life from the loam.
Yeah, having no access to green mana, you're right. The first green mana might just be more valuable in the long game than the 3rd red.
So here comes the Dark
Oh,
Confidant.
we'll draw fetch land off the top. No problem. Now that Dark Confidant gets to die to Seismic Assault. That was a great rip for Cory Lack here. I mean, I guess there's a lot of very relevant cards he can draw.
So right,
But
so
that
make
one
a
felt
black,
particularly
filter
good.
2 red, Seismic Assault, discard my last card to kill your Dark Confidant. I'm done. I'm empty.
He's up for you. It's 4 cards to 2, right? He's winning. I guess it's 4 to 4 since there's 2 cards left in Dimitri's hand.
Neither of which he can cast right now.
Yeah. Oh, draw a land. Raven's Crime. Yeah, 1 life from the Loam, and Cory
Yeah,
is off to the races.
Things get gross in the immortal words of Marshall Sutcliffe. There is a 3rd land for Dmitry. It comes into play tapped, though. So he's going to lose his Courser of Crufix if we
If
see
Cory
a
draws a
Yeah,
land.
if Cory draws a land. Oh, it's life from the loam. There it is. Exactly as he planned it.
Return 3 target land cards.
Right, gets a land to make him discard his last card,
Which
gets
is
a
the
land to
Courser.
play, and has a land in hand to start going to the dome with.
And the land he played is, of course, a Ghost Quarter. Wow, yeah, so he's just dredges back the life from the Loam, fills his graveyard a little bit more, casts it to get more land.
Right. There you
How
go.
does Dmitry draw out of this?
I mean, I guess he needs a Rakdos Charm and exile the graveyard, or
Sure, that's step 1.
right?
There's still some step 2s involved as well.
There's one of them sitting here in his graveyard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
That was a brutal game there for the reigning world champion. Cory Lack goes to 2-0 in the modern format.
He does. Wow. I'm impressed.
That was crazy. Luis, do you have anything lined up for us here?
Yes, there's actually a pretty awesome game going on in progress.
Okay.
Oh, nice.
If you want to look at the Runa versus Lars Dam match there, it's actually the Ad Nauseam against Malirapod match. And
It looks like we have an interesting stack
there
going
are
on.
some kind of ridiculous things going on, yeah. So if we want to go ahead and take a look at that match. So what happened earlier this game is Lars Dam mulled to 5. Runa cast an Ad Nauseam without casting Angel's Grace just to draw a bunch of cards in the middle of the game.
Okay.
Last turn, Runa cast double Pact of Negation on the 2 things that Lars tried to play. Untap, upkeep, he casts Ad Nauseam. Because he has Phyrexian Unlife out, he can keep revealing. But he tapped, leaving so he only has 1 island up. He's got 2 Pact triggers going on the stack.
Oh my goodness.
So-
he has to win on top of the pack triggers?
So it doesn't matter, though, because he hit Simian Spirit Guide into Lightning Storm to win on his upkeep while there's 2 Pact of Negation triggers waiting. Yeah, this game was actually absurd. The casting Ad Nauseam to draw 11 cards off in the middle of the game was just awesome.
Wow. What game is this?
This is game 1. So
Nice.
so I would recommend we actually watch the rest of
We'll
this
just
match.
stay here.
Yeah.
I like the way Runa's at -41.
Yeah, so he just went off. He drew his entire deck. And so at first I was like, oh, he's going to Ad Nauseam. He's going to hit Angel's Grace. He's going to cast it so he doesn't die to packs.
Right?
He could just skip that part. He can just cast Ad Nauseam and then win off Lightning Storm.
Yeah.
So,
He just went off as a response to the 2 pack triggers.
yeah, he pacted a Noble Hierarch and a Viscera Seer. Those are the 2 cards he countered with Pact of Negation last turn.
All right, Luis, tell me about Lightning Storm.
I can tell you what the card does.
Can you?
I can. So it's 1 red. Instant. Deals 3 to target creature or player. While it's on the stack, it has an activation, which is discard a land, add 2 counters to Lightning Storm, and you may change the target of it. Either player can play this ability. And then it does damage equal to 3 plus the number of counters on it.
Is there another instant that lets you put charge counters on it?
Oh,
mean-
my goodness.
I don't think there's another instant that lets both players play with it while it's on the stack.
Right.
So-
That is a Richard Garfield design. Like, I remember talking to Richard. He thought that card was just the coolest idea, that you could have this card that players could just fight over, and you get this bluffing thing was Richard's idea, right? Where, I discard a land, but if I discard all my land, then you might have a land. And,
Yeah.
he was imagining that fight. I don't think he was
He
imagining.
wasn't imagining this?
I don't think he was imagining that one player would have his entire deck in his hands when they started the fight. No, I don't think that was how he drew
No,
it up.
the reality is that this card gets cast when one player has 37 cards in hand. It's not
Right.
a bluffing card. I mean, in
Right,
limited
right.
maybe it was, but there was not a ton of Cold Snap limited. Playing.
I think the limited experience was this card was like you had it off to the side and you'd read it, and then you'd reread it, and then you'd ask your friend about it, and then you'd just put something else in.
And then you'd cast Martyr of Ashes and destroy other lands.
Yeah, that Lightning Storm dealt 18 there.
Yeah.
So
Runa wins.
Yep.
Wow, that was.
And that was game 1.
That was game 1.
That's a cool match. You have any other updates for us while we let those guys sideboard?
So last time I checked, Ansi Akio was down a game against Gabriel Rogazner, whose Merfolk continued marching on.
Wow.
And that was actually a pair up, which is good for the person who's getting paired up.
Yeah,
so, because not only does Gabriel get to knock down someone who has more points than him, he also gets better tie breaks as a result.
Yep.
And then Hannes Kerem in the other 3-1 match lost a very close and pretty long game 1 to Tomasz Gliad. Hannes is playing Affinity, and he got 1 Cranial Plating Thought Seized, and he got and his other Cranial Plating, Tomasz just killed all his creatures. So
Tomasz won?
Tomasz won game 1. It was a slogfest. I mean, it was Jund against Affinity, which Jund is just trying to kill all their creatures.
Sure.
I'm watching over here on my monitor. I got Bing Luke playing against Paul Nemeth at 1 and 3 apiece, I believe.
Yes.
Yeah, and the Jund player's up against it here against Blue, White, Red. He just had his Dark Confidant pathed and is getting Snapcaster beat down.
Can we not pull that up?
I don't know. Yeah, when Abrupt Decay is killing a Snapcaster Mage, things aren't going great. Wall of Omens. How many matches are still going on, Luis?
It looks like so far we've got most of the matches are actually looks like there's a good amount done still, or a good amount in progress still. So we'll go ahead and take a look. The Runa versus Lars match. I mean, their game 1 took a very long time, despite the fact that not a ton of actual turns elapsed.
Can you pull that up on your computer, Luis? Our computer's set up to have the headshots and whatnot, so
Sure.
it'll look better if we watch over your shoulder.
Yeah, no problem. I have it pulled up. I'm watching it now. So if we want to go ahead. Looks like both players have kept their opening hands. So. And
There we go. Sort of. Yeah, there we go. And so lead off Bird of Paradise. And this is so what is Lars playing? Lars Dam.
So Lars is playing Malerapod, and game one is actually the toughest for Malera in the combo matchup. Like, I mean, I played it in Richmond just a couple weeks ago, and the same was true. If you can win game one, you're pretty happy. He didn't, unfortunately, but Lars does get to side in, 4 Thoughtseize. He gets to side in a Sink Collector. He gets to side in Either Sworn Canonist, which also stops the combo.
Wow.
Right.
So,
Do you also bring in the Entomber Exarchs? Or?
yeah, Tumor Exarch also. So your pod turns into a really, really disruptive card. Whereas game one, you can pod for red caps and Revel Arcs and stuff that don't really do much. Post board, I mean, it's a lot better for Malera, so it does get tougher. I would say that Lars is favored post board. Whether he's favored to win 2 in a row, I don't think that's necessarily true, but it does get much better for the Malera deck.
Right, but the Lightning Storm combo requires so much mana that if you have a steady stream of disruption, it's really hard. And we saw that last round. It's really difficult for them to get that critical mass of mana and the spells to cast.
Right, especially when you're getting Thoughtseize or Sink Collector probably 2 or 3 times in most of these games.
You see a Kitchen Finks on turn 2 for Lars. A
Lotus
Lotus
Bloom,
Bloom
yeah.
ticking down, yeah. Tick, 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 tick. Just kind of hanging out there in the exile zone. The janky lands of the combo deck, right? Like you always see these like gemstone mines, yeah. Tendo ice bridges and
You don't plan to cast very many spells in a combo deck.
right.
But you know what? You want the colors you want. Combo wants the colors the combo wants. Some black, some red, some white.
Kitchen Finks gets in and is joined by a Kitchen Finks.
Yeah, no pod for Lars. I feel like the pod decks are just divided up into the games where you have pod and the games where you don't have pod.
Right.
They're just completely different experiences. The ones with pod are a lot easier, it turns out.
So Runa's casting Peer Through Depths at the end of the turn. Lars paid 2 life and cast a Birds, just completely advance his board position.
Sure.
No, you don't expect any sweepers out of this Ad Nauseam deck at all.
No, I think that the Ad Nauseam deck can't really afford to play a ton of, first of all, almost anything at post board since it takes so many slots. Second of all, yeah, stuff like Anger the Gods or whatever other, Drown in Sorrow, that's not really the game they're trying to play. So I would not be concerned about that. You can throw out as many birds as you want.
So Sleight of Hand and Serum Visions for Runa here. He actually Peer Through Depths for the Serum Visions at the end of the last turn. But hey, Luis, can you show us the Exile Zone? How many counters are on that Lotus Bloom?
Just one.
So it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, it is going to bloom very soon here.
So we see a Thoughtseize on the stack from Lars.
Yeah, we don't have the hands on the
We
red zone
don't have
computer,
hands here, yeah. But we'll see soon enough.
Yeah, it would. The game chat actually should reveal it because it does list all the cards when.
You can call it the game chat, right?
Bam. So we'll take a look as soon as see what Lars ends up leaving Runa with.
Apparently leaving him a tricky decision.
Wait, what, is it going to pact again? He's like, it worked out so well last time.
Well, Lars is actually looking at
Lars
Runa's
is thinking.
hand. So,
Oh, okay.
Lars is thinking.
but Mystical Teachings is what makes this sort of thing more complicated. Because once he has a Teachings, it's essentially one of any of the combo pieces.
Right.
So, but it just costs a lot of mana. So you have to figure out exactly what your plan of attack is here. Though it looks like Lars is on the Finks beatdown plan. Hoping this one Thoughtseize plus 2 Kitchen Finks is going to be enough.
It doesn't sound like enough.
And it looks like he took an Angel's Grace.
All right, Swamp, Drown in Sorrow, Peer Through Depths, Slaughter Pact, Pentad Prism. So there is a Drown in Sorrow.
There is a Drown in Sorrow there, Luis.
There is a Drawn Sorrow, so it looks like that was the sweeper I would guess, but I'm surprised
Crazy.
that ends up being there. So
It's not really much of a sweeper. It's kind of like those street sweepers that kind of push all the dust around because you end up with 2 more finks.
Right.
well, also now that Gavany Township is the plan, the Drawn Sorrow doesn't even actually do
jeez.
anything. It would have been awesome earlier.
yeah, he played a temple last turn.
So without the Angel's Grace, though, I don't think that Peer Through Depths. I mean,
No.
there's a lot of steps that have to happen
Yeah.
before Runa finds his combo here, and
Agreed.
getting hit for 8 actually is just a 2-turn clock.
Yeah, these guys look like they're going to game 3. I mean, Runa gets the Lotus Bloom this turn, but what can he draw? What one card? I don't know that there's one card. Like having lost the Angel's Grace to the Thoughtseize. I like
expecting-
Lars' chances of forcing a game 3.
Yeah, I'm expecting to see a victory window here.
I think we're down to 2 matches this round.
Yeah,
right? This
it
one's
looks like
going on
like
and-
just Bing Luke and Paul Nemeth, and this match. So Modern is a blazing past us.
Hey, I mean, no complaints here. I mean, I like watching these relatively fast but action-packed matches.
Yeah.
That is pretty sweet.
sending all the shuffle time to 0 helps a lot.
Well, let's just say there are a couple Aetherlings in the standard portion, so don't get too used to it.
But as far as like those kind of matches go, Aetherling has really sped up the clock considerably on that type of deck. And
That's true. If you took all the Aetherlings and replaced them with Elixirs of Immortality, we'd be in for a much worse time.
we can't play with both together.
People do that sometimes, and I do not understand it. I think you should just
One or the other.
pick one, stick to it.
Just leave the Elixirs of Immortality for the Stormcrow deck. All right. So we're
So
back.
did that
I believe that is that game over?
It's almost over. He lost his gemstone for a Pentad Prism. He needed to top deck, and I don't think he did.
Okay. And this is going to be the last match. It looks like
Bing and Paul are done?
It looks like Bing and Paul are done. So we just have game 3 here between Runa Anderson and Lars Dam coming up.
Mhm.
And these players are, probably not going to spend as much time sideboarding here.
Yeah, I think they're still in game 2. Is that right, Luis?
Yeah, it looks like they're still playing, but Lars is about to attack, as you can see,
There
for
we go.
lethal, which will force Runa to cast an Angel's Grace to try to survive. But he has to sack a Lotus if he peers into it, or he just casts Angel's Grace off a Pentad Prism counter, and that's not a long-term winning strategy. There's not very many games where you can burn an Angel's Grace and then not just lose the next turn.
All right. Attack for 10.
Kill you?
Probably don't need to attack with the birds because the Finks are already lethal and Angel's Grace is going to happen. Except, well, never mind. He's a genius. Slaughter Pact. Slaughter Pact actually makes that not entirely true.
Yeah, the Slaughter Pact is enough to blunt the attack down to 7, right?
Yep.
So you hit for 6.
Or is it 3?
So
4,
he's got
5?
to. So if he's going to win, he has to win on top of a pack trigger again.
Yeah. Well,
He can pay for it hypothetically.
and his Lotus just got abrupt decayed. So,
oh, that makes it a lot harder to win.
well, I mean,
Yeah.
I was going to say if Runa had to upkeep Angel's Grace, untap land ad nauseum, then
Right.
that would be a thing. But
Not without the Lotus Bloom. Not enough mana.
And this is our only remaining match.
all right, yeah. So
Yeah, there'll be a game 3.
the game 3 will be starting shortly here.
And you do you still like you still like the pod deck post board in this matchup?
Yeah. I mean, again, it's.
Now that he's done the first half of winning
I think
2
the
in a row.
Drowned Sorrow is mildly annoying. You don't like knowing they have that, but it honestly doesn't matter that much, especially you're
It's
playing.
no
as-
anger of the gods.
No, definitely not. Your Finks come back, and
Right.
So it's just not nearly as devastating. What the pod deck really just needs to do is cast one Thoughtseize to buy it enough time to cast Birthing Pod. Because once you have a Birthing Pod out, between Sin Collector and Tumor Exarch and Eternal Witness, you can kind of just Thoughtseize them every single turn. And the Ad Nauseam deck's not that resilient. It's fast and it's reasonably resilient, but it can't get Thoughtseize 3 or 4 times in a row and still win.
Is that good?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I actually played against Storm in the last round of Richmond, and my game 3 hand was like Bird, Sin Collector, Thoughtseize, Abrupt Decay. That's the sort of thing you're looking for, just like a super disruptive hand.
And yeah, we're underway here in game 3.
All right, we have just started, and
Runa leads with a temple.
Runa is resolving a temple. It's kind of funny this deck gets to play the temples too. It does make me wonder a little bit if just because the original the guys who played the deck in Valencia played temples, now everyone plays temples. It may or may not be true to play or correct to play the temples, but because the two lists that did well in Valencia played them, now everyone's just going to play them. I mean, I believe that it is correct to play them, but it is funny that like that sort of information cascade can actually happen.
Sure.
So it looks like Runa's just. He's got a Lotus Bloom that he suspended.
Yep, there is a Bloom sitting on 2 in the exile zone.
Now these guys are both 3-1 at this point. So I mean, we are on table number 2. Pretty big game 3. Tomasz won his match over Hannes Karam, right?
He did, yes.
Okay, so Tomasz is now continuing to pace the field at 5-0.
Wow, really nice. So Conjurer's Bauble, cycle it into Sleight of Hand.
And Bruno defeated Seth, picking up his first win. So those are the two guys kind of at the back of the pack at the moment.
Did you say Ansi Akio won or lost that round?
Ansi lost to Merfolk.
Oh, right. Gabriel got paired
yeah.
up and won, which means that, the win, there'll only be 2 people on 4 No, there'll only be 1 person on 4-1.
Yeah, there's going to be a 5-0, a 4-1, and a bunch of 3-2s.
Exactly.
Yeah, the pairings were kind of weird, I guess. Both 4-1s that got paired up and down both lost.
Right.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, 16-player tournaments end up with really weird-looking, like, final standings. I remember at the Players' Championship when they're, like, Paulo and Paulo made top 4 with, like, something like a 11 or a 10-4, 9-5 record. Yeah. It was like the last guy in the top 4 was going 9-5. Yeah. It's like that doesn't sound that impressive, but when there's 16 people, that you don't need to to go.
What kind of humble brags is that, Luis? When I play in 16-player tournaments, I find
I played at 1 and I did poorly. I didn't qualify for the last one, so it was a pretty pathetic attempt if it was. 2 years ago when I used to be good.
And you've had a little burst here this season.
I made top 8 in Richmond, and there were a lot of people in it, so there's that.
Yeah, Lotus Bloom is definitely good news for Runa here.
Yeah, he's sliding again. He's looking,
I also-
finding lands.
I feel like when my pod opponent plays turn 3 Kitchen Finks, that's usually good news. It means he didn't play turn 3 Birthing Pod.
Yeah, and there's a Pentad Prism.
Well, there was turn 2 Finks, so
turn 2 Finks, sure.
if Lars has the land, he can immediately pod away the Finks into
right.
Entomber Exarch and kind of get the Thoughtseize train started.
Right. But if he doesn't play a pod this turn, it means he doesn't have one.
And we're going to be on 8 mana for
Next turn.
Runa if he untaps.
Yeah, once the Ad Nauseam deck has drawn Bloom, mana is generally not a constricting factor.
Although those abrupt decays, I mean, it's about the only interactive spell that the pod deck plays, but
Lars hasn't had an incentive to cast Thoughtseize earlier than this turn, because with the Bloom suspended, you want to wait until the turn before.
sure.
But so this is the turn where we find out whether his hand is good or not.
Right, exactly.
If he casts a Thoughtseize like an Abrupt Decay or plays a Birthing Pod and gets an Exarch, his hand is okay. If he doesn't do any of those things, I'm not sure what kind of hand he kept.
7 minutes, is that enough time for Runa to be able to win?
If he's practiced with the deck, I think so. You just click yes until you run out of cards, and then you play Lightning Storm and you discard all your lands. So that shouldn't take too long.
Okay. In comes the Finks for 4.
I knew that was going to happen.
And here's the play. What's it going to be?
Birthing Pod.
It is a Birthing Pod.
Land, sack Finks?
No
land.
land. Oh my
Wow.
gosh.
Here's
So-
your window.
Yeah, if Runa can't win this now, then
Yeah, he's in trouble.
He is in
He
trouble.
needs to win right now, if at all possible.
Forever hold his peace.
Or combo pieces, as it were.
Yeah. I was going to say rest in peace, but then All right. 8 mana showing. What is in his hand? 5 cards.
If he's a Spirit Guide in a land, he can even Mystical Tutor and still go off. Or Mystical Teachings and still go
Jeez.
off. So
He's thinking.
see, normally on Magic Online, when my opponent thinks this long, I wonder if they've just gone up to get something to drink. But
Right.
in this case,
Can you look outside, Randy? He might be at the water station.
Not with 6 minutes on his clock.
All right. Oh.
Well, that's actually really good news for Lars. If a Drown in
Yes.
Sorrow is getting cast, then you're not dying this turn.
Exactly.
And if you're not dying this turn, it's likely you're going to be able to get Exarch with the Finks, and every turn gets worse for Runa, from here on out. Things don't get better for him. So if he can't win this turn, he's kind of on like a downhill slope.
Wow. Yeah, and what cost is the Drown in Sorrow? What are you giving up to bring that in here? What
I would imagine the pact negations aren't that good, just
Right.
because you're getting thought seized all the time, and you're
Right.
not countering you're not fighting a counter war over your combo resolving. So you have some spots. It's more that it's just not super effective, like in just terms of cards. Like when you draw Drown in Sorrow, you're not going to be that happy.
if that had been Anger of the Gods?
Yes, that would have been different, because then you might have Lars passing back and doing nothing. Instead, you're almost definitely getting Entomber Exarch this turn, which can't be good for you if you couldn't win last turn. It's just going to put you multiple draw steps away from winning.
But he does, Stone Rain a mana for someone who's already mana choked.
Yeah, and you do make Sphinx smaller, and you get to scry for one, so small.
Well, there's a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, if that's
Jeez.
what's starting here, then that's problematic.
You want to pull up the game log
Yeah,
so
but
we can see his
let's
hand?
see what's going
Yeah,
on
let's
here.
go ahead and take a look.
We won't see it till it resolves, but
Which it could be a close decision. We'll see. Since
I mean, we're assuming that Lars has Entomber Exarch in his list.
well, he has it in his list, but
Okay.
the question is whether he brought it in.
In his
I
deck.
have
It
to assume he
seems-
does.
If you've
Yeah.
got it in your sideboard,
I mean, this is what the matchup you bring it
yeah.
in for.
Right.
Like any
If
combo
it made the
matchup.
75, it's got to be in the 60 for this against this matchup.
I would like his list more if he had Archangel of Thune in it.
People were talking last night at dinner about like Archangel of Thune being a quicker combo for the Magic Online clock.
That's true.
That is true. So Runa reveals Pentad Prism, Mystical Teachings, Drown in Sorrow. So he was short of casting Teachings into the combo here.
Right, and he got
Yeah,
it
it
ad
was one short.
nauseum taken away.
And I imagine that the Mystical Teachings might get taken here. If you don't take Drown in Sorrow, I guess Entomber does end up dying, but
Right.
Close this. Yep. So this leaves Runa with Pentad Prism, Drown in Sorrow. He can drown the Exarch just so he can't get potted into like a 5-drop like a Revelark, but that's still not an incredibly exciting turn.
Does get to sort of possibly tuck a card away on top of his deck with the scry.
And if Lars doesn't have a mana critter, his pod's actually turned off. Like, this is how Runa can get multiple draw steps, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Runa's best shot is to kill the Exarch and just hope that Lars passes for 2 or 3 turns, but
Right.
it's pretty tough for Lars to miss on lands and castable spells here. His pod is not a very high curve deck. If he draws no land and no Thought Seizes and no Noble Hierarchs, then maybe, he gets something going, but there aren't very many spells he could draw that aren't castable.
There's Voice of Resurgence and a land.
So now we can pod into... You don't even need a Sync Collector because you know what the last card is, but you can pod into like a Finks or an Eternal Witness, and those are both pretty good right here.
Right, you can Eternal Witness back a Thoughtseize. Oh, there's a Harmonic
Oh,
Sliver.
yeah.
Oh,
Because
yes.
it's post-board, you now have the Sliver, too. Yeah, you can just kill the Bloom just to make it even less likely that you're going to die in a quick turn.
Wow, so Runa was super close. He had Mystical Teachings. He had Ad Nauseam.
He was 2 mana short of going off that one turn, and then he was at least a turn away from going off this next turn because he got double Thoughtseize the turn afterwards.
Right, it was his turn 4 where the Bloom resolved, so he had played, what, Pentad Prism on turn 3?
Yeah.
Like, if he could have somehow turn 2 Pentad Prism, he could have Teachings on turn 3, but I guess that just...
He spent a bunch of time casting Sleight of Hands and Conjurer's Baubles, so he might
To
not
set it
have
up,
had all
yeah.
those things until he did that.
Yeah, that sounds right. Sculpted his hand, and he was just either a turn or a couple mana short, depending on how you count.
Yeah, Runa's almost in the lock now because he has no cards in hand. He has to draw 2 combo pieces. His best shot is end of turn Mystical Teachings, untap, peel a combo piece. Since most turns he's not going to get to keep a card in hand. But he has not very much time because Lars is going to be able to assemble a Aethersworn Canonist very soon. Once Canonist is out, then Runa needs a way to kill it before he can go off, and he already used 2 Drown in Sorrows. He can't have very many more.
I mean, he can hypothetically win through a Canonist, right? If it's Phyrexian Unlife, then he can sort of end step ad nauseum,
End step ad nauseum,
untap,
Yeah.
Lightning Storm. But that's super hard to set up.
And
And
keeping
it
a
only works if you have Phyrexian Unlife.
And
It's-
keeping that alive against an active pod is kind of tough
yeah,
too.
yeah.
There are not very many.
I was just saying, it's not like the Storm deck, which
No,
actually
the
just loses to
yeah.
Canonist. You still have
Yeah.
an out.
Yeah, one cool interaction I like against the Storm deck is with pod is cording out a Canonist mid combo, and even if they have a Lightning Bolt, they still can't do anything. They have to pass the turn. They've already cast a bunch of spells.
Right.
Rune is running out of options, time.
440. He's not really
Yeah.
running out of time.
Soon life points.
Yeah, he needs multiple top decks in a row and to have his opponent somehow brick, which is really hard to do when you have creatures in pod. Yeah, I mean, even if Lars didn't draw didn't draw a card for the rest of the game, I think he still just wins.
All right, Rune is down on. He's on 13 life.
He's gone into the tank a little bit this turn.
Well, when you have a pod out, it's like you have 14 cards in your hand every turn. So he's got a few decisions.
Except
but
you can't see them. You have to
yeah.
somehow like figure
Right,
out what
yeah.
they are first.
Well, Magic Online's a little easier for that, but yes. But luckily for Lars, he has all these different paths in front of him, and they all lead the same place, which is victory, I think.
Yeah, which is 4-1 in second place all by himself.
Yeah, I mean he's got a couple ways to not win, I'm sure, but the vast majority of his outcomes here just end up with him winning.
Yeah, I mean this is a deck that when we were talking to people leading up to the Pro Tour, people were a lot of times you'd hear people say that they didn't want to play this pod deck just because it was so
hard.
So difficult to play maximally, right? To play to its maximum potential.
Yeah, it is a tough deck to play.
Is this the kind of deck like every time you play it, you think about it a day later and you're like, oh, I could have done this and I could have done that and I could have played it this way.
No, I played it pretty great in Richmond. Yeah, there are games I could have played differently, but I have played a lot of pod at this point. I played it in 3 GPs now, and kind of wish I'd played it at the Pro Tour. So we thought there were going to be a lot more Anger of the Gods, which the deck does legitimately have a hard time beating.
More Anger of the Gods was the single most played spell, cost more than 2.
Yeah, we thought there were going to be more of them.
More? Yeah, if you look at cards that cost more than 2 mana, the single most played one was Anger of the Gods.
Here, so what he's done is gone into the tank and come up with Court of Calling.
Yeah.
And so he's courting for a
Looks like a Canonist is my guess.
2 drop, yeah.
Sure.
And he's upkeep courting, so he passed without attacking, but I mean, he could presumably get like a Kosali Pride Mage, but I think Canonist it seems like the most likely. Maybe I guess a Spellskite is potential, but that seems not as good as Canonist here. You've got to not worry about the 2 other more Drown in Sorrows. I mean, Runa can't possibly be playing like a million of them.
No, he's got Voice of
Resurgence.
Resurgence.
Interesting. You're just going for the beatdown, I guess.
But declining an attack?
We had to tap the guys to cast the cord.
No, I know, but I'm surprised. Like, going for the beatdown doesn't... If your goal was to deal
Yeah.
damage quickly, wouldn't you attack
Yeah.
and use the pod instead of the cord?
It looks like we're going to see a
Something.
spell. Is this going to be Ad Nauseam? Just
I think it's just going to
For
be
value?
potentially a
Main phase teachings?
yeah. Because he has to cast it now,
Okay.
otherwise the voice triggers. So
oh, sure.
Runa's got to cast mystical teachings on his own turn. Getting an ad nauseum.
But aren't you opening yourself up to getting Exarched here?
Yeah, you're gonna get
Well,
Sin
yeah.
Collector. The voice is probably turning into a Sin Collector after it attacks.
I mean, I think part of Lars' plan here was that the voice would force main phase instance.
Yeah, that was good actually. That ended up working out really well, and it was I think a very good anticipatory play. You get the voice to force him to teachings, then you can Sin Collector away.
So it's on Lars again. And once again, he is thinking.
He's doing his best to narrow the time gap here, which isn't really what you want to do here. But
Okay, here comes the pod.
Sacks the voice, gets a token, gets to search for a 3,
Yeah. And there's the Sin Collector.
as predicted.
Yeah,
Now, why wouldn't you be willing to do that on his turn? Like, I mean, obviously he's going to get the token, but
yeah, I think it's probably better for Runa if he just waits, bites the bullet, gives Lars a token by end of turn teachings, then untap and hope to draw Angel's Grace. Because the way he did it now, he can't actually do that.
peering through the depths.
And there's
Can he find a way out?
probably not, and those 2 elemental tokens do enough damage here.
Oh, yeah.
So, actually, Runa missed on peer through depths.
Oh,
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's not what you want to have happen.
yeah. Peer through 5 lands.
Yeah,
Yeah, this attack is just lethal, right?
and it would appear to be over.
Sure. Plays the Angel's Grace just to stay alive for a turn.
So Lars drew the Angel's Grace. So
Wow.
had he end of turn teachings, he might have actually been able to win.
Right. Well, I guess if he's going to go for the Sin Collector anyway on his turn, then it
He
wouldn't
probably
matter.
does. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
You have to give your opponent that chance to screw up.
Yeah.
And there you go. Runa Anderson wins.
Wow.
Runa Anderson wins. Oh, I'm sorry. Lars Dam wins, and Runa Anderson wins. Some
Yeah.
moral victory, I
But
guess. All right, and then that is round 2 of Modern. We're halfway through the Modern rounds.
Halfway home.
So we know we have one 5-0 player and one 4-1 player
Yes.
at this point.
Tomasz Glede is the only 5-0, and Lars Dam is the only 4-1. After that, it's a bunch of 3-2s. So that's Hannes Karem, Rune Anderson, Ansi Alkio, and some others, some of the 2-2s who won.
so a funny thing about Lars is at dinner we were talking, and all his emails from Wizards had gone into his spam filter.
Oh, no.
So he didn't realize he was supposed to submit his deck list till an hour
Wow.
before his flight when he was in an airport.
Jeez.
Realized it was like, holy crap. And just logged on to Magic Online and just submitted whatever decks he had on his account.
You're kidding.
That's what he said.
Wow. Crazy.
So,
That's awesome and terrifying.
yeah, definitely.
So I think we have a floor interview.
Yeah, it sounds like we're going to go down and see to Marshall Sutcliffe, who has another interview for us. So let's send it down there and see what someone has to say.
Hey guys, Marshall Sutcliffe here down in the tournament area. I'm here with someone, as BDM so eloquently put it. It happens to be Cory Lack. Hey, Cory.
Hi, good to be here.
Yeah, welcome. And so, Cory, you started off 0-2 in your cube draft, but now you've rattled off 3 wins in a row.
That's correct.
And little known fact, I was just chatting with you here a minute ago about how you actually found yourself here at the Magic Online Championship. You actually won an entire cube tournament.
That's right. As far as I know, I'm the only person to qualify for the Pro Tour via Cube. So I hope they never host another one, so I can say that forever.
Yeah, I think that seems reasonable, and I don't blame you for wanting to cling to that. Now, how would you say your cube was? I mean, are you like a cube specialist? How good was your deck today?
It was to the point that if they called me up because I won the Cube Mocks, I would have made excuses. Like, please don't show this.
So-
I'm like a horrible fraud.
You were looking over your shoulder like, don't call me, don't call me.
Yeah, like it was embarrassingly bad. I think it's pretty difficult to get a completely unplayable Cube deck, but I came close.
You almost reached that level. Now, that moved us, though, over into Modern. And your Modern deck is sweet. I mean, it's traditionally called Aggro Loam, but you just like to call it Loam because you're not doing a ton of attacking. Talk to us through how the deck works.
The deck basically works that you whittle down the resources your opponent has. I mean, yours too, but the idea is that yours will either be sort of repetitive. You could just lie from the loam for a really long time, or you'll have a very large Tarmogoyf, or you can just throw lands at them with Seismic Assault.
Yeah, we saw in the feature match here, we saw you win with Seismic Assault, but really you used retrace cards to kind of control your opponent's board and to strip away their hand.
Yeah. Your opponent not having cards is good. That's basically what it boils down to, I think. There are a lot of decks, I think, that really have a hard time beating multiple Ravenscrimes. There aren't a ton of really creature-heavy decks. Certainly, I didn't think would be here. So decks like Twin or blue-white red, Jund, depending on what they have, can really fall apart to a bunch of Ravens crimes.
And is that the metagame that you expected when you came in? I mean, look, Loam isn't a deck we see at the top tables of modern GPs or at the PT very often, but you had a kind of a unique situation with a small field here. Was Loam the answer to what you predicted the metagame to be?
Basically, I expected a lot of people to be playing just low variance decks, very sort of 55% against the field. And I think a lot of those decks, Ravens crimes are really good against them. They have a hard time dealing with Seismic Assault. You're essentially very well equipped to handle all of them, and you might lose to some of the fringe decks you might see on Magic Online. But I think I was really glad with my choice for a more, what I expected to be a more dense metagame or solidified.
Yeah, one that you would expect to see, say, in a daily event or something along those lines.
Right.
So talk us through a little bit about how the deck actually works, because I think there's a lot of people that aren't that familiar with it. What are the key cards, and how does the engine go?
I mean, at heart, you're still really a gen deck. You can still just play Dark Confidant, Tarmogoyf, Liliana, and your opponent will lose often enough. But Light from the Loam is a really great engine. Part of the reason I like the deck over normal Jund is that with the loss of Deathrite Shaman, I think you no longer just have a capacity of awesome value cards. You have to play some weaker stuff. And I think in that sense, it's really awesome to have a sort of synergistic engine going for your deck that happens to go really well with the cards you already play, like Tarmogoyf and Liliana.
So, Life from the Loam, is that the best card in the deck? I mean, it's the namesake of it.
Sort of. When you get Life from the Loam certainly makes your other retrace cards and Seismic Assault better, but I think Seismic Assault is the reason I'm most happy to be playing the deck. When decks like Splinter Twin are in the metagame, just resolving a Seismic Assault feels so good. Yes. Like, I am never going to die. And I mean, occasionally they can get rid of it. Jund has Abrupt Decay. Twin can bounce it with Cryptic Command. But if you resolve Seismic Assault, then you have time to start Ravens criming them, and eventually you'll be in a position where you will win eventually.
And that is kind of the theme of the deck. So, Cory, you're now 3-2. You're in a good position to go forward. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yep. And thanks for the interview, too. All right, so signing off from the tournament area, Marshall Sutcliffe.
Welcome. I'm Randy Bueller. I'm in the booth with Luis Scott Vargas. Yep. We've switched around roles. We got BDM over in the red zone now for the last 2 rounds of Modern. Seen some cool decks so far.
Yeah, definitely. And our next feature match is also pretty cool because both decks are a little off the beaten path here.
Okay, so the next feature match is Andre Strasky versus Paul Nemeth. I think we've got slides to take a look at Andre. See a little bit about him. He's from the Czech Republic. He's playing. So what is he playing?
He's actually playing Merfolk. So
nice.
Not the 4 Meddling Mage Merfolk that we saw a little earlier, but
okay, the other Merfolk deck. I think there were 2 in the field.
Right, and yeah, he's got the mono blue Merfolk deck there.
There you get a look. 4,000 lifetime matches played. Pretty healthy win percentage. 62% in the mocks
which is nice.
Those are tough matches.
And that's where you want your win percentage to be.
Absolutely. Yeah.
How has he been alive for 4,000 matches?
Well, if you figure Hannes can play 24,000, then he only needs to be like a 1/6 of Hannes' age. That's how that works, right?
He looks to be a 1/6 of Hannes' age.
Fair. So Andre's opponent is going to be Paul Nemeth. Paul is from the United States. Zwischenzung. He's from Cleveland, which that's the chess move, I am led to believe. 9,000 matches, 64% win percentage is nice.
I definitely have I recognize his username because I've definitely looked at decks he's played in daily events and stuff. Just because the username sticks out at me.
Yeah, he's been playing a lot of Magic Online for the last couple of years. This is not 9,000 matches over the course of 10 years. It's more like the last several. And so Paul's playing. We were sort of talking about how exactly to describe this deck. What do you think we settled on?
Well, it looked like a Kiki Diki control or something along those lines.
Yeah, it's a blue-white-red control deck, but it's got 3 copies of Kiki Jiki the Mirror Breaker. So it's kind of got the twin finish. There's no Splinter Twins in the deck. There's no Pestermites or anything like that. But you're playing Restoration Angel anyway because it's just a good card in the blue-white-red control deck. So I've got Restoration Angels. I'll throw in 3 Kiki Jikis.
Yeah,
Why not?
Kiki Jiki also combines well with Wall of Omens and Snapcaster Mage.
Absolutely.
So Kiki Jiki's part kill condition, part value card.
Absolutely. So, do you have a lot of experience with the Kiki Control versus Merfolk matchup?
No. I built Merfolk for Pro Tour Valencia, Pro Tour Born of the Gods, and Did not end up liking it that much, so did not end up playing it.
Okay.
But I do like blue-red-white, so I played a lot with blue-red-white. Some with Kiki-Jikis in it, some without.
Okay.
And I think in general, Merfolk is built to beat up on the control decks.
Yes.
So it'll be interesting to see if that's the case. But I think that the Kiki-Jikis actually add an aspect to the control deck that's very good in this matchup. It lets you just win out of nowhere. End of turn Angel, untap Kiki-Jiki.
Yeah, the question I think is whether it's fast enough.
Yeah, it might not be. And the Merfolk deck does have 3 Vapor Snags and a Dismember kind of ready to go, ready to break up the combo.
Well, I mean, if they're used to having to play against Splinter Twin decks, so it's definitely, I mean, Merfolk isn't quite fast enough to erase all the combo. You'd like to just, one spell to get in there and sort of disrupt, whether it's a Vapor Snag or even Spreading Seas can sometimes mess with somebody's mana. That's kind of what passes for interaction in this Merfolk deck.
Yeah. And Merfolk also has a couple copies of Kira, the Great Glass Spinner, which are very good against the deck that's full of Electrolyzes and Lightning Bolts and Path Exiles and whatnot.
Yeah, but then again, the blue-white-red guy might say, I don't need to kill your stuff. I'm just going to go Kiki-Jiki Restoration Angel.
Yeah, I think that's very clearly plan A and something that, I think Merfolk is good enough at, putting threats out and protecting them that the blue-red-white deck's probably not going to be able to kill all of Merfolk's threats and kill them. I think you're going to want to actually just Kiki-Jiki Angel, not try to just kill every single creature.
Yeah, that sounds right. That definitely sounds right to me as well. I think the pairings have definitely gone up. The players are starting to make their way toward the tables, but I don't see any of the matches coming up yet. Other matches going on this round. I mean, the battle at the top, Tomasz Glede could just run away from the field here in these next couple of rounds. He's already got... is Large Dom 3? Oh, I'm looking at the wrong standings. Right.
Yeah, Large Dom is 4-1, and we just saw him beat Runa there. So Large Dom is playing Malarapod, and he's 2-0 so far in the constructed portion of the event. So he went 2-1 in the cube, and then now is 2-1 in the...
Yeah, these pairings aren't right.
Well, if you look at the standings, they're presumably playing since Tomasz is 5-0 and Lars Dom is 4-1.
Right, but Tomasz is listed with 12 points here, and Lars with 9.
Huh.
Yeah, these are last round's pairings with a different feature match chosen. It just says pairings by table for round 6. That's what's going on.
Gotcha. Well, either way, by standings, that match will be Jund versus Malarapod, and the Jund deck's actually kind of built with Malira in mind. It's got main deck Anger of the Gods and sideboard more Anger of the Gods. So it'll be interesting to see how that ends up playing out, especially since Anger is probably the worst card for Malira to play against. But looks like they might be trying to figure out the pairings real quick here.
You still think the mono blue Howling Mind deck is the most interesting one you've seen in this field?
I mean, it's the one I like the most. I think the deck I'd rather play the most is Malarapod because I like playing the deck. But
Sure.
The Howling Mind deck is pretty cool. I do like the Loam deck. Loam was a deck I've tested a lot and actually used to play back a long time ago. Back GP Dallas in 2007, where Paul Cheon got second playing Loam. I played it till a top 32 finish, and yeah, we like playing the deck. It's a really fun deck to play, and Life on Loam Seismic Assault is an awesome combo to get out. So I like the Loam decks. It was pretty interesting seeing how it played out against Jund. Usually Raven's Crime is not your key card against Jund, but it worked out pretty well for CJ Lack last round. So looks like they're getting seated here, but I'm surprised at how much Merfolk showed up. I mean, granted it's 16 people, so there's going to be a pretty high amount of variance. One extra person playing a deck makes it look a lot more represented by percentage, but 2 Merfolk out of 16 is not what I would have guessed. And the Merfolk, I think, are doing well so far. Yeah,
it's actually, I may be more representative of the Magic Online metagame than the sort of paper Magic, sort of Grand Prix Pro Tour metagame. I mean, Merfolk are a deck that, since I've been watching, it seems like they just get more play on Midco. I'm not quite sure why that is.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's just the aggressive nature of it or, let you play, get your games done faster and sort of get on to the next game. But it's definitely something I've seen much more of a presence of on Magic Online.
Yeah, and I believe that both Merfolk players are 4-0 right now. So, since I think Andre Strasky won his first round, regardless, I know Gabriel Rogazner is 2-0 with Merfolk right now.
Okay.
So, it seems like the main deck Meddling Mages might have been a pretty good choice.
Sure. Yeah, so the Merfolk decks are doing well. The Loam deck's doing well. Who was it that was playing the Howling Mind, the Turbo Time Work deck?
Lee Ferrand. It does not look like he's picked up a win in Modern yet.
No, it does not. Yeah, he's 0-2 with that deck. It's kind of too bad. Or maybe it's good if we don't. It depends how much of it you want to see in the future, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying I would want to play against it a lot, but it did stand out. So.
Yeah, it sounds like the pairings and the future matches that I announced are in fact correct. It's just that the point totals that are printed out were wrong.
All right.
No big deal. Players are starting to pair up in their matches. I will keep an eye out for Strasky and there we go, Strasky and Nemeth.
All right, so they're queued up and they're ready to start very soon.
Great. We will send it down to the feature match area then.